everyone. I welcome you to another episode of Turiya Talks, Season 8. And today we have with us Miss Naina Redhu. Naina Redhu is a professional photographer and a visual artist. Her career spanning of 17 years started with an MBA in IT and systems to a job as an innovation management consultant to branding and graphic design work for international clients to a full-time solo entrepreneurship as an experience collector. Nana started her blog 17 years ago, and it has evolved from writing about creativity, innovation, to sharing case studies about branding, graphic design, to finally a designation for some of the luxury leading brands and lifestyles. As Nana writes features for those brands and photograms them as well. Nana also has her podcast called the Naina Redhu Experience, where she talks about her business and professional aspects of photography, blogging, and influencer marketing in India. I would love our guest to share some insightful knowledge about photography. So let us start, ma'am.
Yeah, please. Thank you, Sumbul. Thank you so much for welcoming me, and I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, ma'am. So the first question. Please
Yeah.
share with us your experience from launching Nana.co in 2010 and working with some very big clients ahead.
So I have actually been online since 2004, and I tried all these brand names and different domains because I used to do graphic design and I used to design websites for clients and I used to blog about innovation and consulting. But eventually I realized that whatever I do, since I'm a solo entrepreneur, is tied to my name. So my name is technically the brand, and that is what I then used, and I got the domain Naina.co. Naina.com was unfortunately not available, and I think it was too expensive, and as a freelancer I was like, oh my god, I cannot spend so much money to get a domain. Naina.co worked, and I was really happy with it, because now whenever I introduce myself to someone new and they ask me where can I find you online, I always say Naina.co. So it's like Naina and company, so you say Naina.co, and everyone remembers that. And
Yes.
I got the domain in about 2010. I think you're right. And since then, I've been blogging about a lot of stuff. I've been writing about my photography assignments. I've been writing about, now my art. I've been writing about all the travel that I've ever done. So there's a lot of photo stories. I also write some articles sometimes. And honestly, sometimes I look at my blog dashboard and I see that there are more than 3,000 posts, I think. And I'm like, oh my God, did I actually write all that? So it's been fun. It's been very entertaining. I have met thousands of people from all kinds of countries and all walks of life. It's been very, very interesting. I mean, if I had to pick one word, it's interesting.
Okay, ma'am. So, what is your strategy for growing your brand?
Well, I think like anything else, the business in general, strategy for growing my brand is, building relationships. Like today, I'm here, I'm talking to all of you. You all have me on a podcast. So I also found out about Turiya Talks. You guys found out about me. So it's all about talking to people, building a relationship, whether it is online or offline. I mean, these days, not so much offline, unfortunately, because of the viral situation, but even online, reaching out to people on email. I know a lot of people think it's the old fashioned thing to do, but there are a lot of people who are decision makers who still use old boring platforms like email. And that's kind of pretty much it. I try to, for example, even for the podcast, I'm wearing a brooch. So it's because I want people
Yeah.
to see it. So that's a way of growing my brand. I've got my artwork in the background. That's a way of growing my brand. People see it. Next time you might see it somewhere and you might go, oh, wait, I've seen that somewhere. Oh, that's Naina's painting. So it's about making people aware of what I do. And then, whoever I am, being authentic, this is who I am. Whether you meet me in real life or it's a podcast or a video, this is me. There's nothing to hide. So I think these things have really worked for me. And again, growing my brand, I don't think any of us can do anything on our own. So I've had a lot of help. A lot of people have been kind. They've taken a chance on me for new work. People in other countries have paid me in advance because I don't work without 100% advance payment. So I wouldn't have been here without those people. So I guess it's all about all of us coming together and doing something.
Yes, ma'am. So, how can a budding photographer work with big shots in the future, just like you, ma'am? And any piece of advice for the budding photographers?
So when I started out as a photographer, I went out
Yeah.
to a few senior photographers in the industry and I sought their advice. And one of them was very kind and he looked at my work, which was very, if I look at my work from 17 years ago, now it looks extremely amateurish. It looks like I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had an eye for it, which is what that senior photographer also told me. As far as getting work is concerned, like I said, you have to put yourself out there. You, as a creative person, I think I still have imposter syndrome, so I'm always doubting myself. Is my work good enough? Even when I look at an image and I think, oh my god, this is fantastic, I love this image, I still have a doubt at the back of my head that I don't know if other people will like it. But I've started to trust myself more as I've gotten older and I've gained more experience. So I think for anybody, forget just budding photographers, I think it's very important to just start. A lot of people question themselves all day long. They'll consume other people's content. They'll look at what other photographers are doing, for example, but they don't start. I think it's really important to just get started. उसके बाद अपने आप हो जाएगा. Because you do one thing, 10 people see it, you get some feedback, then you do another thing, another 10 people see it, and that is how actually you get work as well. That's what worked for me also. It also helped that the internet was quite new that time. So when I went online and I showed my work, there weren't a lot of other people like me, especially in India. So it stood out. People were like, oh, who's this person who also knows the internet and her photography is not bad? So that is how I got a lot of clients. When they came to India and they looked for a photographer, there was nobody else who was online. So I just happened to be, the first choice because I just was everywhere. Now, of course, the internet is a really tough place to kind of compete on, but it stands. I mean, if your work is good and you're consistently putting out work, you will, people will notice you. And don't forget to reach out to them because these days, I'm sure they get bombarded with a lot of stuff. So you have to reach out to them as well.
So, ma'am, with phone cameras like getting so advanced, is it still worth to purchase a professional camera?
So it depends. If you want to be a professional photographer, then I do think you need to have a professional grade camera and lens in your kit. At the same time, I have shot client assignments on a phone camera. That is also possible. But in general, I think, especially, if it also depends the kind of photography you're doing. If you're doing advertising photography, which will appear on a billboard, for example, then I think a DSLR is still the first choice. I know a lot of us have seen phone company ads where they say, shot on X phone and it's shown on a billboard. What they don't tell you is that the actual rig behind the phone is professional, extremely pro grade
Yeah.
stuff that they use. So it is, I think, important to have a professional grade camera if you want to pursue this professionally.
Okay, ma'am. So sometimes it happens that even after putting a lot of efforts, you don't get that level of reach or clients. So what can one can do then?
So you have to understand what is your goal here, right? Is your goal reach? Because what are you going to do with that reach? So I think it is important for us to define and then redefine our goals continuously. You can't just say once that, oh, I need a reach of 5 million people. What does that mean? Who are those people? On what platform? What are you going to do with that reach? So I don't think it is about reach or your handle having X number of followers at all. I think it is about what are you trying to do here. So I, for example, want to do more work. And what is that kind of work? So it's a particular type of photography, it's a particular type of photography client, it's a particular type of art client, for example. And then that is what I show more of online. I don't want to, for example, I used to do wedding photography in the early days and then I stopped doing it. I think it's been 6 or 7 years now. It was not for me. So now, because I don't want more wedding photography work, I don't promote my wedding photography work, even though some of the images are quite beautiful. So it's that, what are you trying to do here? Are you trying to get more work? Because reach se kya hoga? Like, what is the point of having all that reach if you're not able to translate it to something?
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, in your opinion, what makes you an influencer?
Oh God, I hate that word as a professional category. I think I genuinely believe that all of us are influencers. For example, I'm meeting you here today via this video chat, and the way you talk and the way you ask me questions and you're polite, these things influence me. And I'm reminded that I need to be polite to other people as well. And it's not something that you remind yourself once in 10 years. You kind of need daily reminders. So I think we are all influential in that sense. And we can all use social media platforms to present ourselves authentically as who we are. So influencer is just, I mean, everybody's an influencer. My mom tells me something, so she's my influencer. I have a small circle of influence. Similarly, there are people who follow my Instagram handle, and for example, if I travel somewhere, they might want to go and stay at the same location. So that is a form of influence. So I guess it's part of my job, in the sense that even if I don't like being called an influencer, it's just an industry term that we now use to identify certain types of people. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too big on it.
Okay, ma'am. So there's one more question. Like, what work with influencer marketing or the best practices?
Best practices for influencer marketing. So I think for people who want to be influencers, I think it is important to do some work in real life. Like, you can't just be constantly posting, selfies of yourself and become an influencer. I don't think that works anymore. There has to be a story connected to you and who you are and what it is that you do. So for example, like, I'm a photographer and I'm also an artist. I paint, and I also do consulting for small businesses and solo entrepreneurs like me, where I tell them how to use social media for their brand, etc. So there are these things that I do, which I think I would do even if I was not like an influencer. I think people think of me as an influencer because these are the things that I do. So I think that is very important from an influencer's perspective. As far as brands are concerned, where they want to like work with influencers or use influencer marketing to promote their brands, I think it is very important to build a relationship with the influencer and not just go after, oh, that person has 1 million followers, so we have to work with them. You have to build a relationship, spend time talking to them, get to know them, and then work out a professional relationship in the long run. So I think these are two best practices. The first one was for influencers and the second one for brands.
Okay, ma'am. So is influencer marketing just another hype word or will it going to last also?
I think influencer marketing is definitely going to last. I mean, everything goes through a hype phase, right? When Twitter started, everyone was like, "Oh, let's join Twitter." When blogging started, suddenly everybody was a blogger, and now everybody wants to be an influencer. So you might say that, oh, but blogging is kind of gone away, print is kind of going away, but they're not really going away completely. So there will always be ups and downs. And I think it's a form of marketing at the end of the day. The fundamentals of marketing remain the same. We've just found a new way of doing the marketing, a new way of word of mouth.
Okay, ma'am. So let's talk about your artworks, ma'am. I've seen you have some very beautiful paintings behind you and your
Thank you.
garments, brochures, and so much to look for, ma'am. I want you to tell us about your artworks, ma'am.
Okay. So I've always been drawing and painting since I was a child. Thankfully, my parents were always like, "Here you go, crayons. Here you go, pencils." So I've always been sketching and painting and drawing, but I never really looked at it as a profession in that sense, because serious artwork is quite expensive. Quality of paints, the canvases that you buy. So I never really considered it. But I think 3 4 years ago, I was able to earmark a certain portion of my business budget, and I decided that okay, it's time, I need to pursue this professionally because I really wanted to do it. And then I experimented almost for 2 years with different forms of paint, different types of artwork, and I came up with this style of paintings, which is, it uses lines. These are all hand painted, and that's what I started doing. And the first thing I actually released was 3 4 brooches. These are hand painted on wood. This is actually my first oil paint brooch collection, which I launched literally 2 days ago. And it's just something that I've always wanted to do. I look at paintings and they're beautiful, and I'm like, oh my God, how can I wear this? I've always had that. So we've had, garments that are printed, digitally printed with famous paintings. But I was like, no, I want the full painting. Like, how do we do that? And that's how the idea of the painted brooch kind of came to me. And since then, I've been, doing collections around Diwali and, trying to follow the whole seasonal collection thing, and I really enjoy doing it. And I love watching people wear my brooches. It's amazing to see a customer or a client actually wearing something. And paintings are just larger canvases. So the largest one I've ever painted is 64 inches. It's like as tall as I am, probably a little taller. And it's time intensive, but I think art in general has been something that has kept me totally sane during the pandemic. Maybe not totally sane, but it has helped a lot. And I look forward to doing more of that. I really want to do another exhibition. I did my first exhibition right before the pandemic hit. Like literally 15 days later, there was a lockdown. So that was quite unfortunate. But, it is what it is. Everyone has kind of suffered in, the pandemic. So I am looking forward to doing more, on ground exhibitions where people can actually come and look at my art and touch it. And I can tell them that this is not digitally printed, it's hand painted. So, yeah.
So, ma'am, why do you make this type of art?
So, like I just said, I mean, the lines thing I came up with because I experimented for about 2 years, and I looked at various forms and what I really like doing. And I thought the line painting is kind of meditative. So, I can sit for hours and I can paint, and suddenly I'll be like, oh wow, it's been 6 hours, maybe I should eat lunch. So it was my way of, getting peace of mind, I suppose. And this is the one that worked. I mean, I do other forms as well. Like I said, this is oil and there are no lines here. But yeah, that's primarily my style, and this is what I like doing because I find it very, very meditative.
So, ma'am, what does your artwork represents?
I think I've already answered that question, no? Like with the meditation and everything.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, so how do you make it? Like, what inspires you the most?
No, again, can you repeat the question? I'm not sure what that means.
So, ma'am, how do you make it? What
How do
inspires
I
you
make
the most?
what?
The paintings, like the
Okay, I
brooches?
think let me skip that question because I don't know how to answer that. Like I painted.
Okay. So, ma'am, what inspires you, like,
In life in
to make,
general?
yeah, in life?
Um, okay, what inspires me? So I think everything inspires me. I love colors. So whenever I see some interesting color combinations, I'm like, oh my God, I need to photograph it. Mainly it's that there's inspiration all around you, nature wise, other stuff that people are doing. It's inspiring to see them go after their goals. I think that really gets me going. I'm like, oh my God, yes, I also need to do ABC, XYZ. So I find other humans very, very inspiring.
Okay, ma'am. So, with this, we have arrived to the end of another interactive session. And thank you so much, Naina ma'am, for being with us. And I hope our viewers had a great time. Stay home, stay safe, and wear a mask. Thank you. See you in the next episode of Turiya Talks. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Turiya Talks.